and welcome back to the Cock Dice. In this week's conversion video, I'm tackling a Cannoness for my sister's battle army. She's going to be a melee beatstick, kitted out to really be run as a Bloody Rose Cannoness with their special chainsword. So for the main part of this conversion, I'm using Cleona Nachtingale, or whatever her name is, from Curse City. One of those I picked up this off eBay as a spare. I really like the robe, I really like the big hood. We're going to do a bit of work on that. I've grabbed the cape and whatever this is called bit from the Cannoness that was in the starter box, because I got two of the starter boxes, so I've built one of the Cannonesses. Double-handed chainsword is obviously from the Repentia kit. I've grabbed a spare melter pistol. Because she's going to be getting up close, I think a melter pistol's great, especially if she's fighting Marines. That's pretty much instant death to a Marine if she's in base contact. Gonna add some flamey goodness. I'm not quite sure where his flames are going to go yet, but we'll figure that out as we go. Some extra arms and some extra icons just to cover up any bits of mistakes and areas. So that's what we're going to do with this tonight. We shall get cracking. We'll start with Cleona herself, then we'll get the cloak done and move on from there. So with Cleona, the main bits we want to sort out is we're going to sort these, take the peggers off here first of all. Don't need these obviously because I'm going to be putting the sister's arms on her, so I'll just flatten them back to her robes for now. Now the other thing is obviously she's a priestess of Sigmar, I think, in Curse City, and so she's got a lot of comet kind of symbology on her. I don't really need that. I'm going to try and find some more sisters worthy symbols, so I'm going to just shave this down. So I'm just going to take my knife and just very carefully trim along the surface here and just work my way down to get rid of this symbol, and I'll give it a little bit of sand afterwards just to make sure it's nice and smooth. So there we have it, that's all cleaned up pretty nicely there. And then obviously I need to take this peg off the back here because we don't want that on there. I'm probably going to have to do that with a pair of clippers. Now I've got quite a lot I want to do with the other part of the body, and it's a bit fiddly this one because it's a tiny connection there. I want to take these spikes, staves off. They don't really suit the Grim Dark 40k-ness. They're a bit too Vampire Hunter-esque, so we'll just very carefully trim these off. That's that cleaned up, and then probably the most difficult bit of this, I've ummed and ahed about doing this or not. I'm going to remove this headpiece she's got. It is really cool. I think it's going to take away from the rest of the model a little bit, and I also think it might interact with the cloaky cowly thing she has. So I'm going to take that off. So that's just going to be a matter. Oh, right, very carefully take down the sides, leave a little bit extra material, and then across the top there. Then we just need to reshape her head a little bit with a knife. So I'm just going to trim this round, taking little bits of material off until I get the kind of hood shape I want. So there we have it. She's got a kind of bit of an overhood and then an underhood. I've decided not to try and smooth it out too much, I think. While we're at it, we'll sort out some of the cloak. So this is a brilliant piece. It's a two-piece and it sits over the top. Obviously I don't want a plasma pistol on here, so I'm going to remove the plasma pistol with a mixture of, I'm going to clip it off first of all. Oh, I'm just going to wreck it completely. We'll fix that later with some stuff. So but when you're doing this sort of thing, be very careful. So great lesson for you tonight. Simply, you can see here I've managed to cut straight through the actual cloak, and I've got quite a messy line across here. Now clean the inside up as focused. Clean the inside up as much as I can, but the outside of it obviously has a bit of mess. I'm hoping you can see that line there. There's a gap, and it's about 2 centimeters in. It's right across a fleur de lis as well, so it's a really awkward place. You're going to make mistakes when you're converting stuff. Every now and again you're going to slip with your knife, you're going to slip with a pair of clippers. Main thing is to sort of stay calm about it, don't panic. It hasn't ruined your conversion. There's always ways around it. I've dropped a bit of glue on it. I'm just going to attach it back together. Give it a few minutes to go off there, and then we'll hopefully be able to just ease that out. Where there's some detail on this side and it's been damaged, I'm going to use my favourite item for covering this up. We'll just drop some purity seals over it. There's loads of little detail bits you get in GW kits, and they're perfect for kind of covering up major blunders like that. We next need to fit this all together. Let's have a look. I'm not going to glue that in yet. I'm just going to do a bit of a test fit here while we're waiting. So from this front piece needs to sit about there in front of us. So we're going to have to do some trimming. Oh, hang on. So first test fit, we've got quite a big gap there. We're going to have to bring this in together quite a lot. I'm going to focus on the front first of all. So these want to sit to this. Oh, hang on, I'm breaking the model. So this little skull piece here in the centre wants to sit just above her breast there, in the centre of her chest pretty much. So you can see from this, you're going to have to trim the ends of these off to get that right in. That's getting closer. I think we can go a bit further than that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick this together because it's getting a little thin and I don't want to break it. The bit we need to go in on here is just going to be around here. Just keep trimming this back and down. I don't need to take it any higher. I just need to go further back into it here. And that's starting to look pretty good. I could go a little bit further in. The other option is to obviously trim off some of the material on the inside of here. While I'm cleaning this bit up, I'm also going to remove these side pieces here, simply because we don't have the same connecting back piece on this Cannoness. So we can just trim these off and we don't need them at all. And then we'll just clean up the area around them a little bit. So we're certainly getting there now. This is probably as far back as I can get this. It's sitting pretty well, pretty centrally on her there. So we're going to start trimming some material off the back. Now, this wants to sit on her shoulders, so that's a bit too high. It wants to sit a little lower there. So you flip this around, we'll have a look where it's catching. So it's catching on this bit here, mainly on that. So we'll start by trimming that off. So we've got it down to probably 1 millimetre now. You could potentially keep scraping away and get it closer. I think for this model, that's going to be about enough. So I'm going to glue the front on, give it a little bit of time to dry, and then I'll get the back stuck on after that. So as you can see, I've stuck the back on there as well, and we've got a fairly even gap on both sides. I've done my best to level up both these sides, and then we'll just drop a bit of green stuff across here afterwards. So I'm going to pop her to one side for the moment and let her dry off a little bit, and we'll have a look at some of her arms. Okay, so we have a pretty awesome chainsword. I've picked one without a lot of extra bits on here. Loads of them have got loads of extra purity seals and stuff, so I've kept a fairly clean one. I like these really nice big sort of crosses with fleur-de-lis on them. Obviously these hands are from a Repentia and we don't need those, so we're just going to cut them off just here underneath the I say crossguard, it's not really got a crossguard this, but just at the bottom of it. I don't need the handle at all. We'll just take that off in its entirety. Now onto the hand we're attaching. Unfortunately, I was struggling to find a hand that had a neater connection point than this, which is a bit of a pain. So I'll do a little bit of resculpting around the fingers, I guess. That's not awful. But that's how it's going to look. You can see it's not actually, surprisingly, not that much bigger than a power sword. I thought these would be huge in comparison. With this, we're just, again going to cut it just where the fingers join, there. And then I'm going to take this front section off as well, so cut around the skull, just carefully. Try not to damage any of the other bits of it. And then I'm going to cut right along the fingers there, like that. And then do it from the other side as well. There we go. And then there's a little bit of trimming up just to do, and clean this up. You can do most of this work with a knife. We may have to sculpt an extra finger in just where that's covered it over, so you can just see there. So it's just a matter of doing a little V either side like that, and that will give you the impression of the fingers. Same on the bottom here. Because this is going to be part of my army, I'm going to make sure this is pinned properly, because it will be a gaming model. So we're just going to find the centre of the hand here where we want to put the pin, just about there. So you're trying to line it up with the handle here, right in the centre. It's a bit of a pain of one because of the way she's holding a hand. We do not have a lot of space in here. If I mess this up, I haven't got a spare either. So now I'm worried. There we go, just like that. I managed to do it right through the centre. Perfect. Same on the sword. I'll find the centre of this, so hand's going to come in like that. There. Oh, looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. Mark it with a knife. And then drop your drill in. We'll just drop a bit of a paper clip inside this and glue the two parts together, and there we go. That's got a pretty decent attachment point, and that should make sure that the blade doesn't get snapped off whilst we're gaming. So we're going to do a quick bit of work on the backpack, and this is very similar to before. We're going to take the whole thing off this. So I'm going to cut this a little below his hand, where his hand starts. So I've got a little bit of a flat area on there. Level it off again, like so. Now we're going to attach this to her backpack directly, just on here. So obviously we need to level this area off just a little bit. So I'm just going to take a knife and a straight line across the top. And I'm going to put a pin in here as well, just to make sure that it's nice and secure and doesn't get flicked off whilst gaming. And that's how it's going to look on the model. So we've just got it tucked behind there. I've tilted it back a little bit, as you can see here. We've got a really nice flow of the kind of smoke and flame. Originally I was going to put some candles over this top bit, but it's looked really thin, and whilst it would be very grim dark, I just don't think it would have looked right. So I much prefer the idea that we've got a bit of a structure behind it for the candles to sit on. With this big open area up here, now all nice and cleaned up, we're going to replace it with something slightly more in keeping with her station, and we're going to use this symbol from, someone will tell me I'm wrong, but I think it's the Seraphim box. Just take this off at the back. So the connection point that goes to the backpack we don't need. I don't really need this nub here, so I'm going to just cut that off entirely. And then clean it up around the bottom. Just to make sure it's nice and neat. We're looking for that kind of bloody rose symbol to sit just above her head, like so. I need to sort out that pouch, that centerpiece, don't I, a little bit. She's coming on well. I do need to get some green stuffing done in a minute, so I'm going to give that a moment to dry. I'm going to have a quick root in my bits box for something to cover up that. So just to give this belt buckle a little bit more interest, I found this haloed skull. It's from the Incursor's Infiltrator's box. We'll just trim the back off, the connection point for the belt off here, and we'll stick that over her centre piece. It shouldn't be too big that it really sticks out, but it will just help break up that area where we took the what were they, spikes off, stakes, those things you use to stab vampires with. So I'm just going to drop this on very carefully to the centre there and centralise it. It's a bit of a belt buckle. So green stuff work, let's do a little bit of this while we can. So get yourself a ball of green stuff wrapped up. I'm going to do two little things. First of all, I'm going to fix the cloak before where we messed that up, so it's just a matter of getting a tiny blob of green stuff over the top of that. Get the sort of dish end of your sculpting tool and we'll just work that in. And then just very carefully slice off the extra material. Now for the next bit, we need to bridge this gap in between the shoulders here, and I also want to stuff in some material into the arm here. As you can see, we've got holes down either side here and at the back, so what this is going to do is really just help solidify the model and make sure none of these bits are going to break off in the future. So the first one's going to fill in that back one. Just drop a blob of green stuff in, and I'm going to very carefully just work that in, making sure we don't break the back off. We're going to get a bit of green stuff. We're basically going to bridge it there, stick it on top, and then we're going to work it downwards. Make sure we've got a nice connection over there. And then we'll start edging the sides and we'll just tuck it underneath. I need to make sure these are even as well. I think I've managed to knock them. And then we just want to smooth it down. It's really easy. You might find some areas, such as over here, you've got a line of the fold of the cloak. We just want to start pulling those out So just use either end of your sculpting tool just to start easing those out, keep it nice and wet. This is sandable. Green stuff's not the greatest thing in the world for sanding, but you can sand it. And what I'd suggest you do is potentially do this in 2 stages. Do a first pass, as I'm doing here. You're going to get a few bumps and lumps in it, and then we can always tidy them up afterwards with a knife and with some extra green stuff. So I'm going to get this done, I'll get a bit of lunch, I'll come back and finish it off. So while I've been doing this, I've realised I'm also going to be filling in the gap around her neck here and just blocking out where this collar sits around her. Now she hasn't got any shoulder pads on this model, so we are just going to have to build a bit of a connection. So I've stuck a lot of green stuff in there. Get your arms you want to stick in, make them nice and wet, and just push them in. Hello and welcome back again. So I've carried on. Unfortunately I forgot to press record on my camera and missed the second part of the sculpting. So I've let the first layer dry a little bit so it's a bit firmer to the touch, and then I've gone over with a very thin second layer of green stuff over the top of these, and as you can see here, just smoothing these out. It really needs to be left for a few more hours now, and I might have to do a little third layer and a bit of tidying up on them with some sanding, but I'll do that later. For now, we'll get this model stuck together. So as we did before, you've got connection points for the arms in here. So because we're gluing onto green stuff, we'll use a little dab of super glue, not a massive dab. Oh well, fine, let's take some of that off. And we've made connection points, the arms will stick exactly where we want them to go. On the side here where we cut the belts down a little bit before, we're going to add a pistol holster just to fill that space up a little bit. And we'll just drop that in down there. This is just one from the Sister Battle, I think it's the Battle Sisters box actually, possibly into others. We're just lining up with the top of these here. Just dropping it in for a bit of detail. Again, a lot of this is just adding a bit more of a sci-fi feel to it. The other thing I'm going to do is drop some purity seals on it, just one on either end here, just to give a bit more detail to this cool hood that she has. Cool hood, well, it's not a hood, I'm talking about collar. As I said before, where we messed up the back here, I'm just going to drop one on the back of there. I'll use the one we cut off before, just to kind of hide that mess. I've got one of my pre-built bases. There's a tutorial video for this somewhere else on the channel. If I remember, I'll link it in up above somewhere. To make sure she sits on the plastic areas, because I've just put plastic glue on her, not super glue. And there we have it, my custom Cannoness for my Sister Battle, armed and ready for a bit of melee combat. And she'll obviously be going alongside the new battlesuits and Celestians. So I've not stuck the backpack on yet. I'll do that once she's painted, as it does kind of block a lot of the view. But I'm pretty chuffed with how that came out. So if you hang around for a moment, you can see a painted version of her coming up right about now. And thanks for joining us here at the Clock Dice. Why not like this video and add a comment below? It really helps boost the channel. And while you're at it, if you click on the icon below, you can subscribe to the channel for all the latest updates as soon as they're live. Why not check out some of our other videos and playlists? You can click on the ones on screen right now. Take care, and we'll see you next time.